you know, this is a special call meeting for the purpose of discussion of the management of the nurses' professional registry and information regarding the union to be shared with the board members. At this time, we'll have the roll call.
Ms. Pope, Ms. Elizabeth Dixon, Ms. Frances Hammett, Ms. Alford, Ms. Lucy Mace, Mr. Mary Christian,
Out of town.
Ms. Lois Northey,
Present.
Ms. Sally Clark,
Present.
Ms. Gladys Garland,
Present.
Ms. Dana Hudson,
Present.
Ms. Charity Wells,
Present.
Ms. Marion Hale,
Present.
Ms. Ruth Bryce,
Here.
Ms. Margaret Thornton, Ms. Doris Lee,
She's to represent
Ms. Rachel Sutton, but she is here, is she?
She said she'd be here this afternoon, so maybe she'll be over
Ms.
here.
Emily Zerks,
Yeah.
Ms. Margaret Hasty,
Here.
ex officio, Ms. Edith Honeycutt.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Alford. I believe we should have summer meetings all together. I believe this is the largest attendance I've seen at the board meetings since I've been presiding. I do appreciate your coming. I realize it is vacation time for many of our workers, and it's not as easy to get away as at other times maybe. The first thing on the agenda and order as they were listed is the management of the nurses' professional registry.
Is motion in order? May I move that we have a resume of the activities of the registry for the past 4 years so that we know what's going on. It's been such a change in here that I myself am not clear of what's going on. The last I heard of the registry, we still had around 500 nurses up there, and that we were in financial good circumstances at that time. And I'd like to know, just give a resume of what has happened in here so that bring us up to date on it.
I'll second the motion.
All right. I think we can certainly entertain this motion. I think probably the members of the board will have to come forth with whatever information the members might have to share with the remainder of the members of the board. I personally am not in a position to discuss the numbers. Ms. Honeycutt is our ex officio member and is chair of the registry committee. I believe Ms. Mace is here, who recently was involved with the special study committee, and Ms. Zerks is chair of the private duty. So if the remainder of the members are wishing to pursue in this line, we have the motion to review recent statistical information, financial status. Is there any discussion to the motion? And all in favor of having this reviewed at this time, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And the motion is carried. this copy of this letter that has been passed around to everybody explains pretty well exactly what's happening. This was written in '64 when Miss Garland was president. And down at the bottom, we can start where it says, if you feel like it's necessary for me to read it, I will. But it's all written here, telling about the cause. The only change is, and I've written in the changes on most of the letters, instead of 371 professional nurses, we have 270. We have 80.
Excuse me, Miss Honeycutt. I believe it goes back a little further than '64 because in this letter states that you are seeking funds for the Nurses Professional Registry. And back, in '62 or '63, the Nurses Professional Registry were afraid at that time that they would be taxed because of having money-making organization.
Well, I was
And,
giving what I know since I've
Well, I
been in
think
the
that we
chair.
ought to, somebody ought to be able to bring us up to this, because I think this needs to be brought up a little further than this letter, so that we can
Well,
understand
then
what's
you have
happening.
all the information I can give you right here in this letter.
Well, in the time that you're speaking of, one register committee was dissolved, and we went for a time with a special committee running the register, and then a new register committee, so Ms. Mace can probably help.
Well, Miss Dixon was present at the meetings at that time. When
Miss Bates, there's so much
it
going on
was-
that I don't remember what has
And-
gone on, how we've dissolved down to,
It was
so many
dissolved
members.
because there was not money to run under the setup at that time. They had a bookkeeper that was paid for 3 or 4 straight months at $20 a day and said she could make 22 anyplace else. Of course, said that to me, and I said, well, I didn't think anyone should stay on any job if she could make more elsewhere. That was the answer I gave her when she said that to me. So that had to be taken care of. There was extra help up there in the daytime with the day registrar. That all goes back, the private duty nurses know that.
well, I'm just
And,
asking about.
all right, I'm getting it to you, the way I found it. And that is the reason why. I can't tell you the hours that Sister Christie and I took the little bit of material that we had and came to I'd have been glad to have brought those recommendations that we brought in. The only thing we could see was to dissolve it and try to change it so that it would function, because it was not going to function long under the setup of as much money going out every month that was going out. Mrs. Hooker and Mrs. Vaughn went back as a night person. After my calling and asking her, I couldn't tell you how many times, when we let the lay person go. And she was making the same money that a nurse made. And she helped Mrs. Hooker with some of the bookkeeping. Mrs. Hooker has taken care of the majority of it and all the important part. So there've only been just the 3 regular registrars and the relief registrar for the since that was dissolved. And the register was reorganized, and the members, that is, the committee was reorganized and brought back. Ms. Zerps brought in the names of the people that the private duty nurses wanted, and they were appointed.
Now, let me ask you this. I know that
Well, I can tell you there was no money.
back when I was secretary. That,
Yes, but if you go up there and go over some of the expenditures, you'll see where the money's gone. I found that
you know,
out.
they were talking about big business.
I know they
Remember
were
during
talking
that-
about
that
big
time.
business, and they used the
And,
money doing that big business.
And they were talking every breath about big business.
Well, I know.
I was
I heard
secretary
that
of
at the meetings just the same as you did, big business.
That's right, and that, we were talking, and I know that at the time, that I said to the chairman of the registry committee, you know, you can talk this and you'll get in the presence of the wrong person, and it can be reported to the Internal Revenue, and they can come in and make an examination anytime they want to. And we better be careful how we are talking, because I don't think registry is a big business. Then all of a sudden, the money was gone, and that was the thing. And then we started to having this reduction in membership on the Nurses Professional Registry, where we had been having, around 500 on the registry. And I just
Well, if you
just
go
couldn't
back,
see.
if you go back when you had the 500, we had a great, no, long before that. For many years, Piedmont nurses paid dues into the official register, even though Miss Guerin called them. The records will show that.
Yes, I know that.
The back records will
I
show
remember.
that. I only remember that from being on the committee
I
years
know that
ago.
we had a few. Now, we didn't have a
They-
majority because
We
those
didn't have the
girls over there-
majority, but we had many.
Yes, I remember that.
We had many. And then when Georgia Baptist pulled out,
That was 200.
so that took a great many. But
Georgia
I
Baptist
don't think
Didn't all
it's,
pull out, though, I don't believe.
pardon,
Didn't all of them didn't pull out, did they?
the
No, I know
majority.
there's a good many of
The
them that
first,
still
the
register,
first
right?
year they did, and the dues were paid. But Ms. Zerks knows the majority are out.
Then when when the dues were reduced the year that they were reduced, of course, I know brought down the income in the registry for that
That's
year,
right.
but went up again the following year. So evidently, this decrease in membership on the registry happened about.
Went with this, their own register, and now it has been dissolved.
So they are
Some
back.
have, well, they're not all back, because some of them haven't been accepted back. But they are, many of them. So that, but there was no money. They had to do something drastic.
What year are you talking about, or what years, about approximately?
I think it's about 62, I was gonna say
I have
about
the date.
4 years ago.
September the 19th, 62.
Let's see.
I have the record that Mr. Jackson made. Ms. Zerps was present, Ms. Dixon was present in her headquarters there, and he foretold this, and I have it marked here if anybody cares to see it. And which he stated there, you had Mr. Hurst there, you also had our Mr. Smith with Young and Garver, and Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Hurst was there.
Yes, Mr. Jackson made the statement there, what you're doing now is you're raising salaries, you're rising costs. We had at that time savings in the bank, but it says you're not taking in consideration, you're reducing dues $5. And of course, he didn't know at that time that there would be a great reduction in membership. At that time, your budget was $27,000 and $28,000. It was 28 the year before, $27,000 that year. There were delegates going to meetings, educational funds, and everything, and they were stripped from the budget, taking it down to $25,000, which was your budget for last year, the bare essentials, just to cover it with the rent, telephone, and the usual expenditures. At that time, you had, I have all the calls. I tried to get as much material as I could bring here. I have the calls from this, every report of calls that's been in the registry that will show you what we were doing. We had, I believe, 587 nurses, April 6th in 1961. you were taking 4,147 calls at that time in a quarter. And after all the reduction and the people who went in their own registries, the practical nurses into theirs, Georgia Baptist into theirs, we were having about 4,000 calls, trying to fill those calls with 200, wait a minute, in my report there, 391, I believe was right. And of course now it's gone on down to the other point. Now the calls, I have the calls, we didn't get any reports during the time the registry was under the other administration. But after Ms. Hooker went in there, the new registration went in there, we have had quarterly reports, and I have all of them to date. From that time, from 19, I have 63, 64, 65, and 66. In 1965, you're starting off in January, you had 4,110 calls. Those are for the graduate nurses. And you have about 927 for your practical. I mean, that gives you an idea about what it was then. Now, in 1966, starting in the quarter, you had 3,403. You had a diminishing number of calls there, and 910 also for practical nurses. Now, that was the first quarter in 1966. In the second quarter, you had 3,182 for graduates, 856 for your practical nurses. That's up through June. And actually what happened was you had a reserve, as Ms. Zerps will recall. She said that all of the $8,000 go into savings. It was put into savings. And I still have this record in which he states on there, you're raising your expenditures, you're decreasing your income, you're going to run into trouble. And another thing he told us on this record, which I think everybody in this audience group should know, was he told us that he had it out with the Labor Department in making us non-profit, tax-free. And the papers as they now existed could be in jeopardy at any time. And for us to go ahead and to make our budgets above what we expected to run on, because he said if you do, well and good. But he said then if you have to exceed your budget, then you're going to run into trouble. I mean, those are some of the statements that he made at that time. Does that answer anybody's question?
Well, I want to correct the date. I think the recommendation for that special committee was in 63, the early part, early part of 63, not 62.
No, I'm talking about the financial thing that Mr. Jackson stated in 62.
Well, what I mean
He's talking about our monies when we had money in the bank.
Since that was
state headquarters.
You were there, I have your voice right here, and you made the statement yourself about the income being increased, the income decreased, cutting the dues, the $5 for that year.
But then we were assessed to the $5 too.
Later
Since
on.
then,
Yes, later on you had to, but it was cut $5 in. Canada reminded us then too that rising costs, that it was always bad business to, in this same discussion, there was the discussion as to whether or not to incorporate, the registry separately, and whether or not to put the district funds in one bank account, and they all resolved the fact that whether it was in the registry's name or in the district name, it still remained the same as far as the taxes were concerned. And that he had cleared us for the nonprofit status, but that it could be in jeopardy at any time. And that
Well, the reason that meeting was called was because we got information from A&A.
A&A to incorporate
telling us that they could tax us
Yes.
and see what we could do about it.
What was the membership you said in 1961 it was 587?
You had 587 and 61.
And 62, what was it?
Well, I don't have it chronologically, Ms. Hudson, on that. I would just have the calls here, and it doesn't state how many are on there at that particular time. It just says how many are available, and that doesn't, how many times they registered in. It did not state it on there.
I have those records over the state office.
You have
on a copy of them, or you can get them. Well, what I couldn't reconcile was that we had 1 year that we reduced the fee for that year.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of.
Then we went back into the $50 dues, and we at maybe two years that we had a fair number, whether it stayed right around 500, I don't remember, but we were still getting $50 per person then. And at that time, we still should have had some reserve in savings.
I have your financial reports that date all the way back to that from
I'm
1959.
not questioning, I mean, I'm just
And-
trying to add up how things happen, you know.
Well, if you add it up, they spent more than they had.
Where the money went.
Well,
But there wasn't any at the time that Sister Christine and I were asked to do this work.
Well, where did it go before that? Because it was in savings and nobody could remove that from savings except this board authorized.
You know how many different times that the chairman of the registry committee said that it was not the board's business.
It
what
is the board's
All
business.
right, though, they did many things that the board did not know about.
We didn't even get financial reports for a while, and we still lacking one. Now, here's something that might clear up. In July 61, you had RNs 483, LPNs 147, LUNs 11, a total of 641. You had cleared in the bank, let me see how much savings. Savings and Loan Company, $5,000. This was transferred from the commercial checking account to Standard Federal. That was at the time in 1961 in July. 5,000, and you have a total of 8,417.92 in savings at that time. We didn't get these financial reports as they were in order.
You see, it goes right back that this board has been negligent in the operation of the registry, and that's what it boils down to. That we have not assumed our responsibility to the registry, and that's the reason that this registry is in the stress it's in now.
But Miss Dixon, when the chairman of the registry committee came in and gave a report, you would at least expect an honest report. Nobody's going to question unless they have reasons to question.
That's right.
Well, let's quickly hurry.
But they said it was not any of the board's business. They
It
went
is the
ahead and
board's
did it, came in
business.
and reported what they wanted to report. Now, that's the way I see it.
The bylaws-
Tell you I was worried about things that was
I
happening.
know
The
it.
bylaws state that the
And that's
administrative...
exactly what's happened, because they said that was said repeatedly to many, many people if they would be honest and admit it. Just like the big business.
Yes. All right, now, the responsibilities of the board in the in the bylaws ought to be read to this board so that they know the responsibilities. If a lawsuit was brought today against the registry, it would involve this board.
Let's take it up from here and
that's
see
how
what
it is.
happened. In
Yeah.
August, you had your 8,398, and see if we can find it in here. You had in 1961. Now, that's your August financial report by Louise White, signed by her. And you had 8,398.85 in your commercial checking account. Now, wait a minute, let's see if she transferred it it was in July that you had it in the commercial checking account. You had 16,000 there in commercial checking account, 10,000 in July. And they deposited in July $689. You transferred from commercial checking account to Standard Federal, 5,000, leaving 8,000 in your savings account. Now that's July 1961. That's the one I read you a while ago. We couldn't tell anything about these reports. We asked that they be standardized and made the other way.
See, that's
Now,
where
this is your next one.
where the audit report,
Mhm.
we were certainly negligent in audit reports.
In August, you had balance in the commercial checking, 10,000. You had July, balance in the commercial checking, August the 31st, 8,000, and it agreed with your statement, you had 7,000 deposited. It doesn't show that any was brought in. It said it agreed with the statement. Now, in the next one in September, you can't,
That's 61.
the next one you can't tell, well, let's see, checking account balance, you've got 8,398.
Same as in
And you can't tell
61.
anything about this because it doesn't tell anything about.
That's the same
Oh,
as
yeah.
61.
Total standard federals, you've got 9,000 in your savings account.
And what year is that
That's
in?
same one, 61, in
61.
August. In October, we did not get the this is September. In October, you've got in the commercial account 6,134, and balance in commercial checking 4,000, standard federals 9,000. And then now we're getting way down. Somehow we spent a lot of it right along in here. On the next one, which is financial report, does it have a date on that?
I don't see it.
No, it says October the 31st and November 61, so you see it's taken in 2 months on that one. Had balance in the commercial checking account, 2,684. Do you
Did
see
they give
anything
what
in
they spent
savings?
it for?
It doesn't, no, it doesn't say, I don't see anything about your savings on this one.
Now, it's the way I've been able to figure that, up there, Miss Mace knows that the, salaries and overhead expense in the registry runs around about 3,000 a month, doesn't it? A little better than 2,000. And, so when you multiply 2,000 by what you've got in the bank and where it's gone, because these members are paying dues every year, that, it's not totaling up.
Well-
Something's wrong somewhere now.
Your balance in your commercial at that time, checking, was 4,574. Your standard federal and savings was 9,035.76. In the next one, it does not say anything about the savings. It does say that you've got balance in your commercial on October 31st, 4,574.39. You had an income of 291.58, and your expenditures were 2,159.51. Some outstanding checks there against it, and you had balance of 2,684.82 right there in October and November. It's a combined statement of 1 month, but it does not tell you transaction on that. Now the
What
next
year was
one,
that, Karen?
that's 61.
Still 61.
Now maybe it'll tell you on the next one. Let's go to it. I never could tell anything about these reports. December the 31st, you took in $413.97. Your expenditures then were $2,684.82. You cleared $2,000 worth of checks. You had a balance then of $1,233, and the savings all mentioned now, $9,213.34. Then you go to April. We did not get a financial report from December the 31st till April.
And you see,
Remember, I
that
took
still goes
these-
back to the district that they should have these reports.
Well, remember, I
And
took
it's-
these from files and went back as far as I could find one in any of the files, and everybody has been requested to bring these in. Now, in April, you had 8,776.64 balance. It doesn't say anything about your savings or where. It just says bank balance of April 30th. Bank balance the next month doesn't tell anything about savings of what, 7,407. In the next month, June, bank balance 4,937.47. You have savings mentioned here in July. Your bank balance is 3,414.49. Savings 9,397.60. Now then, Miss Carlson came in.
62?
That's July 62. Ms. Carlson came in August, and she also shows that you have a bank balance of $1,628.84 and your savings of $9,397.60.
Savings was what?
That was your savings at that time in 62. In October, you've got bank balance of 8,000. Doesn't say anything, none, no savings account. So that was, when Martha Carlson was there, that it was evidently transferred, because you've got it shown on August 1962. October, see, we didn't get one in September, no financial report. September 1962, you took in, you can't tell, is that $211.79 income? Expenditures $2,064.53. You had a bank balance of $8,364.29. Savings as of none. And that's October 1962 when Miss Carlson was there.
Where are the
And it
audit
does not.
reports?
They transferred it from the savings account.
Well, we have audit reports in our office, and they've been all read to you at all your meetings and approved at your annual meetings.
But
And
during
printed
this
in your
time,
meter.
they had membership
And printed
going
in your meter.
$50 a year,
Mhm. Now, you do,
plus drawing out of savings at the same time.
your expenditures here.
To increase the registrar's
$50.
salaries were
In
increased.
62, well, you had a bank balance of 5,096, December 31, 62. You had a bank balance of 6,177, January 63. That was December 62, January 63. You had a balance in February 63 of 7,000, no savings. No savings in March, none since then, I don't think. You had a balance of 9,766. And, you see your expenditures have gone, well, you used to have, let me see. Well, you can't tell anything about those. 2,000 a month on those, 2,600, 2,573. It always runs over 2,000 each month. And
What was the membership in '63?
it doesn't, well, wait a minute, here, I'll tell you. It does on these new forms. How far back you want me to go? Let me start in from Miss Carlson. When she started, she had some reports printed. It did not go through the printing committee. I might tell you, because I was chairman of it at that time, and we were never asked about it. You had total RNs in June, 436, part-time 2 of them. Practical nurses 139, and part-time 1 of a practical nurse.
Now that's year 62.
62, and in July you had 445 RNs, 3 part-time, and 140 practicals. Now this,
Did we pay $50 in '62?
No,
Are
those
35. 35.
they, all the records
35 and
available,
63,
all records
and
are
for the
available.
extra 15.
And what I have in the
that's
office
fall.
is,
Or was that 64? 64.
all of the treasury reports that I have are here. We have audit reports too.
63.
In the last 3 years.
And 64 is when they 35, and then we
Yes,
asked
the
for
book
15 at the, in
in the
September.
office, their office.
in the register.
And got enough to finish
That's right.
running through 64.
Now, you've got down here in 63, you had a balance of 9,766.32. Here at one time, you had a bank balance of 13,000 in April of 63, 12,000 in May of 63, 10 in June, 7,000 in August, September you had 10,000, and then then came along the time I asked for information. I never could, for the income tax, get a breakdown on salaries. Salaries were always bunched together. So here's Ms. Garland's notation in 63. Says, Carolyn, this was given me at the Registry Committee meeting yesterday, October 10th. Thought you might like to have it for your files, and they were put into this file with a breakdown of all the salaries that were paid out. And incidentally, in your budget in 63 had been trimmed down to 25,000 too.
What
And,
is, how many memberships did you, what was your
Oh,
membership?
they're not putting this on there, Miss Hudson, I regret to tell you, on those reports. I asked for the dates of employment, and I got them all at that time in September 62, when Ms. Vaughn, Kellum, Brandenburger, Hurd, Orton, and Carlton went in, their dates of employment. We felt like that was important. and, personal salaries. That was the first time we got a breakdown on personal salaries. That's when the study committee came
Well, the
along.
personal salary is still, below, $200 a month, isn't it?
Yes, they are.
I mean, 2,000. So they're still not really getting a salary up there that's
Comparable.
and
No,
that-
no. Well, that's where your money went, and that was the reason.
May I say
Where the
this?
money's
There's a great
gone, where
many
the
of these
overhead
people
expenses
sitting
are.
at this table today that was at this table each meeting during this period that's being questioned. So I don't think it should fall on any one particular person.
Are we, at this point, I think, do we have, you have supplied us, changed the, Ms. Honeycutt, where did you get this
I
information from?
called the registry and had them count the
So
people who
today,
own
we
it.
have 270 professional nurses. And I believe my last, report that I have as far as, private duty, paid into the district, Carolyn, you can correct me, 428 plus 2 associates,
That's
is
right,
that
that's
correct?
the last report we have, and we've gotten in only one since then.
Yes. And, I don't know whether anybody's in a position to tell us what the financial status is.
Today,
Yes.
I can give you.
I would, I believe, ask one question, Ms. Mace, before you give this. Now, we were thinking we would not have, monies to complete 19 and 65 as far as operation of the register, right?
Right.
66.
65 last
The
year.
65, but we did, see, by, you know, we, at the
Did we
beginning, I
use
think we first.
1966
No.
dues?
No.
Or, yes.
At the present time, I'll stand so that, I'm just going to give you what this month, and then give you the balance of the money that is in the bank. Now, the expenditures for July was $2,073.30. And the bank balance of August the 1st was $5,662.31. And the outstanding checks of $1,485.29, leaving a balance in the bank of $4,177.02. Now, with what the expenditures were in July, that would run through September, say August and September, up to October the 1st. And what I hope that we can find some way of borrowing money to continue the register until people make up their mind whether it's needed or not. I've had so many people to call me. They don't realize that I'm out, and I hope I don't get sick, that I would need a nurse. So the register really doesn't pertain to me at all, other than trying to help people that want. And I will work, I will beg to help keep it open until people make up their minds whether it's needed or it isn't needed.
Ms. Mace, won't we have a reduction in that 2,000 now that the registry is not staying open 11
We
to
will,
7?
we will have that 300 and something, see, but that will come in on the report at the next board meeting, see, will show up then. I just didn't mention that, but you see, that only started on the 2nd.
Wednesday was the first time in 50 years that we didn't have 11 to 7 registrar.
First time.
I'd like to ask a question. Do you think it's needed, the registry? Is there any question about it not being needed?
Pardon?
Is there any question about the register not being needed?
I don't
Well,
think
some people seem to think it's not.
Well, I don't
certainly,
think-
for a metropolitan city as big as Atlanta, it's greatly needed to serve.
But if you have to answer, try to answer people, that are begging you to do something about it.
Where has the reduction of registered nurses on the board gone to them? What's caused this decrease in membership on the
Well,
registry?
so many of the hospitals have opened their own registries, and Piedmont and Georgia Baptist. And
Law.
from the last
Piedmont's always
meeting,
had
most,
theirs.
all the hospitals are gonna
Yeah.
set up their own registries, so what they gonna do? If the hospitals set up their own registries, then we can't have a professional registry.
We asked for the
Why did the hospital set up these registries? What's the reason there for setting up registries?
You
When we
mean
have a
this,
nurses professional registry?
Ms. Mace, do you mean that we only have $4,000 in the bank now?
That's right.
And our monthly-
$4,177.20.
And our monthly
Or
expense?
2 cents. Don't
And the
get the
salary.
18 cents in there, because it's not fair.
And the expenditures for July was $2,073.
And 30 cents.
30 cents.
But you see, there will be, of course, there'll be 2 nights that the night registrar will be paid. Not private duty rate. She was employed
How many
as,
registrars do we have now?
well, we have the 2 regular, the relief, and of course the relief for vacation, because they're still giving vacations. So that makes 4.
Well,
But after the vacations are-
looks like we're gonna have to do something now. We can't,
well, we are trying to do, not officially.
oh,
But if I can get money by going out and begging them,
Well,
I'm going to do it.
well,
We don't have enough
And
money
put it
to
in.
operate for 2 months.
Let me make you a statement we just learned. At the time, we made this letter from Miss Honeycutt, and I ran some off this afternoon. We had so many calls and visitors, I thought I wouldn't have time to even run them all. We made the statement we didn't know what happened to the SOS funds. We saw, Ms. Garland and I,
Dr. Godwin,
saw Dr. Godwin, and he said that went to the kidney, the
kidney
research.
research program.
And 22,000, I believe, is what it was.
well, what I'm saying is that if we continue to spend more, spend $2,000 a month, and we don't have the work up there for those people to do, the calls are not coming in, the calls, their workload is reduced, why can't we reduce the personnel?
Well, we have reduced 1.
Well, I think we're gonna have to reduce more than that.
Yes, but you've got, they're accustomed to it, and
What are they
it
doing with
has
that?
been questioned by 2 hospital administrators that have called me that have small hospitals. What, if we need somebody at night, what are we going to do? If you can get money from some source, will you promise to put the night one back? I said, yes, it's only lack of money is the reason why it's done. So I don't see until, I think we should run with the 2 until there's no money. And maybe in that time, we will know.
Then,
what we
and
can-
close down altogether. Well, we are under contract to these 300.
Dr. Godwin made something that might be encouraging.
We are under contract, to these 270 nurses for 12-month service.
Well, I know.
And we can't,
Well, that's what I'm
we,
saying.
as board members, we could be made, now wait a minute, we've got to back up here.
We've
We
got
could be
some
made,
hospitals
Let's-
pretty,
we could be made to pay, we could be made to pay, for the operation expenses of that registry anytime it's closed, so we better cut
well,
down now.
that's what I'm trying to tell you. Until people make up their minds whether they need it or don't need it.
Well,
one
it's-
possibility.
Because if you let everything go, you're not going to get back in the status we are now. This free and that free and like.
Are the hospitals charging these nurses, for registry services?
Georgia Baptist, $25.
No. How much?
25.
25.
Georgia Baptist?
Who's charging?
25.
I was
Ms. Pope, how
told
about
that
you?
George Baptist.
We have
All
not established, we have
All
not
Georgia
established
Baptist
any fees.
is required
of
that they
yet.
be
I
a
don't
member
know that
of
we
the
will.
district.
Well,
Good
you
standing.
I was
Well,
misinformed.
They do.
Well, another thing I don't
I
understand
haven't heard it.
is if you couldn't get the nurses from the registry, how do you expect to get them in the hospitals?
Well, my understanding was when, Ms. Dixon, when we had the last meeting, the directors of nursing and the hospital administrators had a meeting, which Ms. Pope can tell you about, and they had all decided they wasn't getting the service and getting the nurses they needed, and they had decided to set up their own rules and regulations in each hospital and have their own registry. So if this happens, then we can't have an official registry.
Well, how long has this
we
been
better-
going
we
on
better
then with
cut off some
with the
salaries.
hospitals?
Well,
How
I don't
long
know if
has
they
been
told you
going
or
on
not.
with the hospitals
Ms.
playing
Dixon, I
these
think you
registries?
surely must
She
be
wasn't
aware
here.
that Georgia Baptist and
Oh, I
South
know that
Fulton
Georgia
have had
Baptist
their
did
registry
about 2
since
years ago.
1964, I believe.
About 2 years ago.
And I'm not in a position to speak for anyone excepting that since June, we have attempted to meet our patients' needs with people who care to come to Crawford Long under certain terms.
Do you
And,
call through the register?
No, we have not called the
Well,
registry.
that's the hospital.
No, we have not. Now, I think at this time, it seems appropriate that the registry committee, I don't know, I've been told various things, I'm like Miss Mays. I've been told that, there were plenty of calls coming into the registry. I have nothing official.
I can tell you 3 things.
Does the registry, do you have anything, or does the registry committee have any recommendations you all have made? You contacted me regarding a recommendation to release one of the registrants. So, I think probably if we could hear from your committee.
Well, that is all that,
Okay.
the only recommendation that we had, and you've heard about the finances is the reason this recommendation was made. We had been told that we were getting on an average of 15 calls per day for nurses.
Well, you don't need 3 people or 2 people or 4 people up there to answer 15 calls.
However, one day just recently, there were 29 calls, I believe, but
Well,
in the next week.
that's still
but,
not a workload to keep those people up there and pay
Well,
them
I
salaries.
checked with her calls on Friday, she said she had 27 for Emory and 22 on Monday. Just going in from one hospital.
What hospitals are using the
Supposed to be
registry?
bylaws.
St. Joseph
or
is,
any state
Emory?
that you-
Well, possibly an infirmary, or they have had calls. They have had calls. What I want to tell you, that may be of interest.
This
Dr.
is,
Three of
this is very interesting now. St. Joseph, Emory, DeKalb.
The cab calls
and
from a known
Eggleston.
register, they, only when they can't get them through their register, they go to
And
to
they
our
could
register.
not fill my calls at Crawford Long, ever. So, where, it seems to me that if the public, the home calls, and all of these other, you know, we've said we had to keep a registry open because the community needs it. So, if only since June, Crawford Long is the only one that has not been entering calls, then why is the problem? Or should we not be looking at calls before? I was not giving, Crawford Long was not giving this many calls to put this many people, or really to make this much difference. So I think we need to know how many calls maybe we were getting first
Don't we
quarter,
have a
second
record?
quarter,
Well, I got
and
quarters
what
on up
we have
through
had this
June.
quarter.
I have a-
So that we deal with facts rather than, here's
We're
the-
going to have something.
I asked for them to be ready for this afternoon. I don't know whether Ms. Hooker just didn't have them ready, but we do have them through June. What I want to tell you is the possibility that I felt that Dr. Godwin was very encouraging. He said they might help us out in the medical academy with our registry problem. We saw him only a minute, just as we were getting the office opened. And we found out, that's when we found out about the SOS funds. He said there may be a possibility if the doctors set up that 24-hour entrance service at the medical academy. And then too, you remember the careers, remember back there, Miss Hudson, when we used to have an office there to help us on our recruitment on the cadet nurses? That was available. So he said if we would write a letter to him stating our problems, that maybe the Fulton County Medical Association would be able to give us some assistance and help us out.
Space for the
Space.
registry, anyway.
Yes.
Madam Chairman, while we're talking, and I hope this is going on tape because I really have said this many times, I'm going to say it again. I think that basically we are wrong from a business point of view in the staffing. I'm not talking about new numbers now, but I am talking about the type of staffing that we have tried to do through the years at professional registry. I have talked repeatedly about utilization of nurses for nursing. And I think that we defy it at the very grassroots here all the time when we pay private duty rates to people who are not doing anything that roughly simulates nursing of any kind, private duty or otherwise. This to me, as I know it, and I have been on this board, girl and woman, through the years, is a gross misuse. It's a clerical function primarily. It is handled from the hospital in many instances by clerical personnel. They give the name, it's terribly complex. They give the name, the room number, the doctor, the diagnosis, and the tours wanted, and a few things like this that any intelligent person can convey. I'm saying that we are overpaying, not nurses, but we are overpaying for the type of clerical function that's been performed. I've said it for 15 years, I'm still saying it. I think that when we start to look at part of the problems that are here, we need to understand what really is required, and we need to get the person with the least preparation who can safely do the job. Industry knows this. The least preparation can do it. Here we might well get into some older women who are on Social Security, who work part-time. I don't know who they are. I don't think we're going to get eager young people in robust good health who are going to be willing to go into this. I don't think this is required. But if we're going to use nurses who have physical limitations or other things, which I know in the past to some extent we've done, I'm certainly not saying that everybody who's worked in the registry has fit this, but there are people who really were not physically able or able otherwise to be to be performing in nursing, in an official nursing capacity, who have commanded nonetheless nursing salaries for this. If they're going to take this because they elect to do it, I think that we should pay them what the job needs rather than what private duty or any other group of nurses make. They aren't doing nursing
Well, Ruth, these
when they're in
salaries
this
up there
capacity.
haven't been based on professional dues because they are making just a little more than $300 a month now, aren't they, Miss Mace? The registrars.
Registrar.
For many years,
So-
we paid them as nurses. We attempted to.
No, not registrars.
They've never been,
And the
paid
registrar.
salaries.
The relief.
All right, the relief registrar then.
Registrar.
All right.
Mhm.
We weren't paying them grossly more than we were the others when
Because
we
the
figured
salaries
in
in the
retirement.
registry have always been low.
Well, I'm not saying that anybody's overpaid. I'm just saying that if we are attempting to pay them as nurses, whether or not we have said this out loud, this has been my understanding through the years, that we have considered they were nurses and we're trying to pay them accordingly. And this, I think, basically is wrong in this that I am bringing up again. If we are doing this, we're wrong in doing it. They are not nursing.
When I was
I'm saying nursing, not
But most any clerk makes, just a lay person, clerk, makes more money than what the
That was what I was
official
thinking, they make, young nurses
That's
coming
more
out.
money than this.
Well,
Did
this
the
is
registry
committee at its last meeting, Ms. Honeycutt, were they given these figures that there were 270 nurses on registry and 15 calls a day, and that they didn't have the money to, they had only $4,000 to carry them for the rest of the year, and did they, and was that, what kind of report did the registry committee get? Because if we're supposed to act on recommendations from the registry committee, and I don't
Well,
believe
Miss
you brought
Hudson,
it.
I don't believe we could bring any more recommendations than we brought when it's like Miss Dixon is saying and like Miss Mace is saying, unless we know whether we're going to have a registry or not,
It's
and
not
whether
a
we're
matter-
going to use,
We haven't got one.
whether we're going to have one or not, we couldn't very well bring any more recommendations unless we find
Well, you
out whether
could've-
we need,
I'm terribly concerned about this business.
well, so
We
am I.
are-
I believe I
We
told
are
them
are
that
It
obligated,
has to stay open to the first of
But the
January.
budget-
Paid dues.
we are
was-
obligated to these 270 nurses and 88 practical nurses for service the rest of this year.
I believe I
And we
remember.
had better cut down on the number of people in that office, and so that we can at least keep the registry open. And if necessary, use answering service and have the calls come in somewhere or other, because,
They were told that.
if we just
that,
go on and spend the $4,000 we've got, and then come up and say to these people, we can't give you service, or they can turn around and, boy, I tell you.
The registry committee was given this information, whether they were told about these numbers or not. Yes, they were told that too, because that's why I called the registry and got this
I know,
numbers.
but this thing should,
Well, I made the motion.
these expenditures should have stopped 3 months ago when the trouble started. And if we didn't have the money, why pay out $2,000 a month for salaries when we don't have the workload for the people that are up there, and we don't have any prospect of
And that
any income?
$2,000 doesn't just cover salaries, that covers rent, telephone,
Well, we
expense.
better you better think about getting it out of that office where you're not gonna be paying rent, and do something.
Well, when did the calls decrease?
After June 10th.
After June the 10th? Well, what happened? I mean, other hospitals kept calling them, or what happened? Where'd the nurses go, and where'd the dogs go?
The nurses are all working, I mean,
Everybody I know is working, how they
Now,
getting their
here come-
jobs?
Here, we'll have come up July.
There must be other hospitals that are
No,
not
you
using
have,
registry.
Some of
office
them are
come up
going
with
out to
$2,000
Piedmont, some of them are going other
salaries.
places
You don't have
and not
enough
being
money to
called through
operate for
registry.
2 months.
We do not have anything official on the number of calls for
No.
June or July at this point, do
Do
you?
we?
No, I asked that we did, but evidently she didn't have a chance to do them this morning. She had the financial report, which was most important, to do Saturday. See, all of this is, she had it through June. It's just, one person to take care of all the calls, and I'll assure you, I haven't been able to get anything in the office. As many of you know, I've been getting at 6:50 instead of 8:30 or 9 or later. And I'm sure that Miss Hooker would have liked to have had us call. But day by day, I know that one hospital alone, I asked if we were getting any, and she said Friday, well, we've sent 27 to Emory, and they had 22 calls Monday, just to Emory.
Madam Chairman, are most of these calls coming in
But
the
insurance
morning?
is for
Mornings.
Morning.
insurance.
Those people who have already established registries feel that it's a matter of getting your needs filled in the morning and then forgetting it unless there are other calls coming in. So I can only speak from what I have heard as far as filling calls. Of course, I would bring to this board's attention here, I would would correct this information about the going rate. At the time that salaries were increased for the registries, the monthly rate was greater than what the staff nurses were being paid in the community hospitals. Now, to compare it with secretarial help is a fallacy. I think we need to think in terms of clerical type workers. I can exemplify that with a personal note. I lost my secretary as an executive secretary for $500 a month last November, which was in keeping with administrative nursing salaries for people who have additional preparation and experience in this type of thing. So at the time 325 and 350 was endorsed, the going rate for staff nurses in the hospital was $250. And there, I do know, even back in those days when I was on the registry committee, that the private duty rate was paid for the part-time and the relief person the daily rate. So
And the secretary was paid private duty rate.
Well, in making comparisons with clerical work and so forth, I think we ought to also consider that we have some registrars up there that are past retirement age that we're holding on and letting them work. They wouldn't even be able to get out probably and get work anyplace else. So I don't think they would expect to be paid what your clerical work, because they wouldn't be accepted for it.
Are we under any obligation to them?
well, this is going to be my next comment to the board members.
Well, I
I
feel
think
that you
it's
are.
very ridiculous.
At
for
least a month's notice. You get
I
that
agree.
in place.
I think
Maybe
it's
more.
ridiculous for the board members to spend time here deciding what they should do if the private duty section then is going to say that the board was out of order. The registry committee members seemingly have always, and I think what I personally have just gone through lately is evidence that seemingly the board members are supporting, or it seems that they should support the action of the board. But then how private duty, you see, we're charged with the responsibility of operating a professional registry as I see it. And we're going to be held to private duty nurses, held responsible. Our action will be also under criticism and attack, and I might say techniques and tactics which would not lend the board support. We're in a very, very precarious position. We have the responsibility of operating, but seemingly no control. And I think a review of this, where has the savings account gone? I think every one of you have said, well, what did we have then? Well, why didn't? Yes, we are responsible. The board is responsible. But the board can make a decision that can either be accepted or rejected.
On the table for to be passed for everybody to look at, not listen to my reading, but to check
I don't
yourself.
question the money, and I don't question the expenditure of it, because I'm sure it was done right and properly, and there's not a question in my mind about it. But I do say that if we do not have but 270 members, we've got to cut our staff to take care of 270. Instead of us having a staff to take care of a much larger membership, we're going to have to cut our staff, and we need to.
But Ms.
think
Hudson, we
of
can't
running
cut
in
the
red.
staff until vacations are over with. Those people are entitled to their vacations.
Well,
And
they
the
will-
last one is on a vacation.
Well,
When
then
it's
I
over with.
can't be
First of
personally
September.
responsible for it myself.
1st of September?
Who's gonna pay their salaries?
Well, may I ask one question? There've been so many calls and so many people saying that by all means we must keep the registry open, regardless.
I want us to keep the
Oh.
registry open, but I think
Well,
we should cut down.
don't you think they would be
expenditure.
willing to pay a little bit just to keep it open till Christmas, until they
Who's
see
they?
where the...
Who's
That's
they?
a fixed cost.
Who's
You
gonna
can't
pay
rule
that?
about fixed
Rhode
costs.
Island Units are not willing
So
to do
who's
it.
they?
They've already paid.
I'm sure they paid, but if they realized it was going to be
No.
closed, or
No,
they...
ma'am,
ma'am.
everyone I've talked to
We
said no,
cannot
sorry,
go back
they paid
and
their
ask
money.
those, we contracted with those people for service for a year, and we've got to give them service.
That's right, that's right.
The national average is more
I don't blame this
I'm
270
nursing you, you
members
don't want me
who've been
tomorrow,
true
you
to
let
the
me go
registry.
today.
What about the funds that are available in the
I don't think we
Yeah.
need to give anybody a
Till
month's
Do
notice.
we have any?
September 5th.
Well, if you haven't got the money, you
Okay, you have to.
Are we having,
That's a
have we come to order again, please? You,
Is there any fund available through the 5th District that we currently have?
No,
in
ma'am.
savings?
We
we're gonna
have
get
just
through
enough
this
to
year.
get by the year. Our membership
So
is
that's
off.
out.
We need 270 to make our quota, and we have held it to the bone. We have 33 members who do not pay dues for this year,
you're going in the
and
red.
33 who pay half dues, who will not pay dues next year. And we need an all-out membership drive to be able to
But the mate's not there, that's all.
We've
I
got,
need
we've
to
got
know.
just enough to skim by without any emergencies, but you've got to count on that emergency, and then have enough to
Does
get into the first
GSNA
year.
still have the savings bonds that,
Fifth
in this-
District Savings Bond, you weren't here, Elizabeth, or haven't been paying attention to what it was done. All of that was converted. We've started from scratch. All the money was put into it, to one account, and all of our savings into the bank, and we made $88 worth of interest. We draw out just enough to keep going. We've drawn out
some savings
$1,000
bonds
to run
have
on.
been cashed?
They were done last Christmas. All of it was done last Christmas, and
By
with
the
the
approval of the board.
budget was balanced. No money was spent for the first time in about 16 years ahead of time. Not a dime was spent out of the dues that came in for 1966 were deposited in Atlanta Federal, and a part of it, about 4,000 of it, was still here as of 1st of August, $4,495. And we got down to the point that we had to withdraw $1,000 on August the 2nd to carry us for 2 months. And we've got enough to get by the rest of the year without any emergencies arising.
Well, we are running in the red.
We haven't run in the red
You've
yet.
got
We've been
half the
we-
membership, just about half the membership in the 5th District is being the state. You got the same total membership to run 5th District as we do in the state.
we have,
And, let's see, it was in 63, I believe it was, when we had to go into our savings more, but we have built our savings back up. And you're taking, it's costing the 5th District almost as much money to operate the 5th District as it is the Georgia State Nuisance
I think
Association.
that's a mistake.
What are
Senator
the
Dixon.
salaries? We ought to have some figures here. What are the
Ms.
salaries
Hales.
for the month? What's the rent for the month?
Well, you've got that. You've had it in your budget.
Ms.
We
Hudson,
average
Ms. Hales, just a
1,000.
minute. If we could have some order here, I recognize Ms. Hale, you had your hand up.
Well, I just want to say that everybody here knows that the business world is a cruel world, and that if a business goes bankrupt, there is no money to pay the employees, and oftentimes you don't give a large or long notice to say I'm going broke. I mean, if you are, you are.
Broke, you're broke.
And if you don't want to write them a check that's no good, and as much as it would seem like we would want to help all the people that have been on the staff of the registry, I don't think there's a single one of us that wouldn't be willing to do this or want to, but the cruel facts are that the money isn't there, and it would seem that the staff is going to have to be cut, whether it is the kind thing to do or not.
May I ask how much money we save a month now by letting the night registrar go? $350 a month we'll save. That starts, what, the 1st of August? So we'll have August, September, October, November. That's 4 months. To save
Well, that's not,
$350.
I know, but we need to cut out, we're gonna have to cut those other
More
people
than
off,
that.
and if necessary, move that register up in the 5th District
Office and maintain one
and
office.
have one person up there to answer, and answering service, and
There's no room in that other district, Miss Hudson.
The
There is
registry
more.
and the,
It could
fifth
not
district are two
possibly.
separate organizations, and they should not be put together.
Well, how are
Under those
finances then?
circumstances.
It's the district.
well,
Can
maybe
we
that
have
could
order,
go into
please?
Yes.
Ms. Wells, I believe you had.
Well, I would like to suggest that maybe we could refer this problem back to the registry committee with a suggestion that it might be possible to cut the hours still more and cut the staff still more. I would think that most of the calls would certainly be from the early morning until not later than 7 o'clock. If there is anybody available, we're going to know it by that time. And then if we had 2 registrars, they could relieve each other for some time off.
Well, if they're
But
not
that would
any
be-
busier than that, certainly 2 people
To me,
could
I think keep it
handle.
open.
I was on an official register in Florida. They had one registrar up there that went up at 9 o'clock and she stayed till 5. And then she turned the calls over to an answering service, and it worked out beautifully there.
Well, that might even trim it down a little bit more.
That would leave
Five,
one
8 hours.
registrar up there for 8 hours, 9 to 5.
And somebody at home could take the answering service calls, maybe, when it
Well,
wouldn't be very heavy.
one of the nurses might be able to take those and make it an answering service in her home and
You
handle
can
it.
get it for $20.50 for round the clock. So you would be able to arrange it for less than that through the official answering service. You have, I think, 7 operators, the same, they're in the Bank of Georgia building.
Would they call the nurses?
Yes.
Is that $20 a month?
$20 is what we pay, $20.50 for 24-hour answering
That's
service.
certainly.
They
I mean,
just
if
take
she
the
would call the
information,
nurses, you
they
wouldn't
do
have
not
to have
call
somebody
the
else to
nurse.
call?
They would not
No,
call
they
the
would call
nurses.
them, I'm sure that you could make
You
some
give the
arrangements.
list to her and she would call the list.
When
The next
registrar leaves at 5 o'clock, she'd call the answering service and give them the
Give them
list.
the list of the nurse.
Because I think it should go back to the registry.
Well, even at that, they
And then in a
the
small-
registrar could call the hospital and say we have
Mrs.
such
Wells,
and
are
so
you
on.
going to make that in a motion?
Yeah.
All right, very good.
How much is the monthly rental, around 50 or 60, I forgot.
Your amended rate is 125.
Well, now, I think we ought to get out of
How
there.
much is the phone?
Well, I don't know how long your lease is in there, when they sign it.
Well, your rent here is 60-something, isn't it?
Ours is $63.50. The regular rent, if you got an office building there, would be $67, if you got an office in the Healy building.
Well, that would cut off half the rent.
Couldn't we get one somewhere beside you?
Yes, you may get one in the medical academy there, if we make you, if you had, a motion there
Give us
that,
till next week.
a letter be written to them
Give
to
us
see
till
if
next week.
Miss, are you in a position to know whether or not there's a lease on the rent?
There is not a lease.
No, they've never
We're
been.
not bound
They've
by
never
the
been.
law.
Let's get out from under some of that rent. We're gonna have to, because I sure haven't got much to put up to operate that thing.
Well, there's a motion on the floor, and I think it'd be the best,
He told him
get
us
this
to write
settled,
him a letter
put
and
it in
state our
some
needs,
order,
and,
To the president.
Dr. Godwin, and that he would refer it to his nursing committee, but just state it to him definitely. But, that was my suggestion to him, that they might be able to help us with, if they set up a doctor's answering service. He didn't mention space, but there has been space available.
All right. Gotta be written present for asking if we.
Well, we have made a motion on that.
I'm making a motion.
Oh, you are?
I'm writing it.
Oh,
I wanna word it.
well,
right.
explaining the needs of assistance and continued operation of the registry. Is that it? No?
The needs and space.
I'd rather not make any suggestions there. Well, I mean, since you
I
talked
have,
Let's see how.
we have a motion, may we have your attention, please?
I don't know whether this is worded just to convey what I meant to suggest to the Registry Committee. I move that the 5th District Board suggest to the Registry Committee to cut the hours and the number of registrars to reduce the expenses of running the registry, to allow present available funds to keep the registry open for the rest of the year. Then that would leave them a little latitude, to figure things out, see how much money they've got, and what and who they can afford to pay, and arrange or suggest the most needed hours.
Is there a second to this motion?
Well, did you put rent in there too? Consider.
Then it'll have to
office
come
space?
right back to this board.
Yeah.
So why can't we take it, why can't we settle it right now?
And this is an emergency.
Well,
This seems to me an emergency. It'll have to go back to them and then come back to us. At the meantime, we're spending money out each day up there.
would not we'd be able to have a referendum vote if we have a suggestion?
Well, if it's like the last referendum vote, it came back 2 days before the thing was already in effect when the referendum vote got out.
Well, we just weren't prepared for this meeting, that's all.
That's all. That's all we need.
All right, we have a motion. The 5th District Board suggests to the Registry Committee to cut the hours and the number of registers, to reduce the expenses of running the registry, to allow present available funds to keep the registry open the rest of this year. Is there
That
further
don't say.
discussion?
Yes, there's some discussion, because I see no need for this to go to the registry committee when this board has the final say.
I'm the same
And
opinion.
we are in a dire emergency, and something has to be done today, I would think.
Is there other discussion?
Would you read that again?
Instead of going to the committee, let it just be this board.
The 5th District Board suggests to the Registry Committee to cut the hours and number of registrars, to reduce the expenses of running the registry, to allow present available funds to keep the registry open the rest of this year.
Well, do you say
It's
anything
gonna
about
take some study and
rent? Do
research
you
to
say
know
anything
just
about
how to
office
handle
space?
it. It cannot be settled, right now, as I
think
said.
that the intent.
Ms. Wells, I believe I recognize.
Somebody's going to have to sit down and figure out
That's right.
just how much and who. And I feel like the Registry Committee, if they do that right away, and then if they come up with a suggestion that fulfills the recommendation of the board, then we could take care of it by referendum vote and do it right away. Because it is, as Ms. Hudson said, a dire emergency.
I won't speak in favor of support of the motion insofar as the intent of the motion. There's not every word in there but the intent of the motion, I'm heartily for. I think it's forced.
You should have, consider also the office rental.
That's in there, cutting expenses.
Well, I know,
That
but
goes in
To
expenses.
reduce the expenses of
Such
running
as
the registry.
well, go
So
back
the
and read
money
it,
will
please,
rise.
ma'am.
Yes, the 5th District Board suggests to the Registry Committee to cut the hours and the number of registrants to reduce the expenses of running.
Well, would it be in order to amend that and just insert right there where it says to cut the number of hours and registrars and consider office, rental?
And expenses.
put and
That
in
would
there,
take
it'll
care
take
of it
care of it.
instead of.
And,
And
office
expenses.
Well, so
rent.
you offered this, would you be willing to,
Yes, ma'am.
or do we need to amend it?
Well, let's see where it says reduce.
right after your, number of registrars, right there, I believe is where.
Well, let it also
Just consider reducing the rent along with the, at the same time you do the salaries, because if we could get, well, you could possibly get there's several private duty nurses that are in their home and can't get out, and they'd probably be glad to take that in their home temporarily.
Well, I just inserted in
cut off
there
the-
after registrars and reducing the rent, so that would leave.
I read it once more. The 5th District Board suggests to the Registry Committee to cut the hours and number of registrars and reducing the rent to reduce the expense of running the registry to allow available funds to keep the registry open the rest of this year.
Well, now that's fine. And I know some nurses who are right now in their home and having to stay there and can't work. And they could take those calls in the home.
Ms. Dixon, you seconded this, is it?
I had to
accepted?
call.
Is there any further discussion? Then, all in favor of this motion, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The motion is carried.
Madam Chairman, I move that we have that, call meeting immediately by the Registry Committee.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there discussion to the motion that the Registry Committee have a call meeting immediately
To consider this matter.
to consider this motion?
Miss Garland says that we may get a place out at the Medical Academy free. Is it all right with the Registry Committee to wait until we find out about this? Because then we can,
May I read the
excuse me.
motion
Oh, I'm
concerning that?
sorry, I'm sorry.
I make a motion that a letter be written to the President of the Fulton County Medical Society explaining the needs of the Nurses Professional Registry and ask if space might be available for the 5th District Nurses Professional Registry in the Academy of Medicine. I understand, Dr. Godwin, if we explained our needs and the financial situation, that we might get space available there.
When do they meet?
Second the motion.
We had a motion, I believe yours was in the form of the motion on the floor. And this, you indicated that this related to this. The board, is there any discussion about the Registry Committee having a special call meeting? Is there any discussion? Then may we handle that motion?
Well, listen, first,
I move the question on
All right. All in favor of the motion to have a call meeting to handle the motion regarding registry expense, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion is carried. Now, the chair has this motion. I believe Ms. Zerks, you indicated the second.
Yes.
A letter be written to the President of Fulton County Medical Society explaining the needs and of the Nurses Professional Registry and ask if space might be available for the 5th District Nurses Professional Registry in the Academy of Medicine. And Ms. Zerps, second. Is there discussion to this motion?
I'd like to ask Ms. Garland, would this interfere with the groundwork that you all have laid if you got an official letter out, or would this unofficial kind of approach that you all been using with Dr. Godwin, having worked with him myself, I wonder?
I'm just afraid
that it would?
Well, can't the board know what your groundwork is if it pertains to the registry?
Go ahead and try it. It's your business.
I mean,
What they just said,
Oh.
the
See.
contact they just made.
the letter, they've already kind of begun to work this out on an unofficial basis. And sometimes I've worked with Dr. Godwin myself, and I know that sometimes an official approach is disturbing when groundwork has already been laid in another area. And if the possibility that this might interfere with this at all, we might do better to just let the unofficial approach be used here with people who already have them in and have already started. Do you think?
I understood that he asked that a letter be written and that he might help.
Well, that was a follow-up. I believe in Ms. Garland, if I may make a suggestion, could continue her talk with him. We only had about 2 minutes, that it might be very fruitful.
I just thought
If
this
she
was
didn't
one
mind
of
him
the-
willing to
do
do
this,
this.
Well, but officially, he will have to wait till the Fulton County Medical Society meets to carry any of this at all, and it's just going to delay,
Well, he would have to if he had the letters. So
He'd
I
have to
mean,
do the
he's a
letter
witness.
anyway. Either way, and if we've already started.
Ms.
It's just
Garland,
50 of one and
you did not
half
wish
of
to
50
speak
of the
further
other.
to
No, I
this.
don't, I won't,
She can't, that's the
I
point.
can't, I won't say anything.
That's the point.
I believe, Ms. Dixon, I believe I recognized your hand long ago now.
That's why I paced it.
Ms. Hastings?
I was just gonna say, we just passed this motion, I believe. The last motion we passed was to ask the, registry committee to meet immediately. And if they do recommend that we move this, say, to somebody's home, I don't know what they're gonna recommend, and we do this, what's to keep us in the future if this works out at the Academy of Medicine, for moving it there later? I mean, I don't see why we have to hold up on doing something right now, or even get out this letter or anything like that. Just let that move on at its own pace as they have started it. In the
and we can always
meantime,
transfer over to
yeah,
the.
it could always
Do they
be
have
moved
one
again.
room or 2 rooms there in the hotel?
It's a real little one, if I remember right.
Is there
Well, I
any
think it
further-
should be turned over to the registered committee, and then let the registered committee give it back to Ms. Pope to take care of, without all these other recommendations.
Is there any
What do you
further
have a
discussion
registered
to
committee
this
for?
motion
That's the one about the letter.
to the president of the Fulton County Medical Society? Then we will vote. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Now, which is that? Is that about the letter?
Let me read it once more. The motion, I move that a letter be written to the president of Fulton County Medical Society explaining the needs of the Nurses Professional Registry and ask if space might be available for the 5th District Nurses Professional Registry in the Academy of Medicine. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no?
No.
Motion is lost. Is there further discussion as relates to the management of the Nurses Professional Registry? Then if we might move into information regarding the union, I will call upon Ms. Dixon in the event that I do not cover all of the area that should be brought to the board for information to the members. I believe Ms. Hudson, you were at the meeting also. I will try to review this with you from it as I have seen it. The day that the letters were received by some of the members, I had inquiries of some of the staff. I too received a letter, I talked with Mrs. Dixon in the state office, and at that time, and I'll share this with you people because she was not acquainted with the fact that last year, during the Georgia Hospital Association convention, most of the hospital administrators are out of town. There were leaflets circulated to many of the parking areas where hospital staff nurses park. I officially knew about this in that when Mr. Zwall from Georgia Baptist called me regarding his observation of some union people. It was advertised as a union, and then we observed and saw no leaflets being handed out, yet several days later some of the staff at our particular institution did bring leaflets, and seemingly most of them were discarded on the parking deck. And I did learn at a later date that at South Fulton and at Piedmont, these leaflets also were distributed. That is all of the information that I had regarding this. To my knowledge, no one, nursing staff nor hospital administrative group, did anything about this. Had I believe I lost mine. I had it reproduced so many times. I sent Miss Dixon a copy, but it was indicated that it was an AFL-CIO union, and these were circulated. This was last fall. Then when I received a letter, I checked through my files to see if this was the same union and or the same outfit. However, this one calls themselves differently. That one called themselves a Federation for Municipal Employees or something to that nature. And I don't know why they were concerning themselves with private institutions, unless they were trying to get an indication of a union of interest on behalf of hospital nurses. I did not hear any more until these letters started being received, and I did talk with Miss Dixon, and it was indicated that these were going out to all of the nurses in Georgia. And she and I had a number of calls of people saying that they wished to do anything, and that was indicated. And as you know, this date there was a newspaper article indicating that there were 1,000 nurses in the Southeast already members. However, our letter would show conflict to that the dues had not yet been established in this type of thing. So the newspaper item in the letter showed several discrepancies. This letter indicating that they would be organized in Georgia and then eventually the Southeast. I did go out to state for some meetings. At the same time we were having our planned Georgia Hospital Association, and there may be members here that are not aware of this joint study committee, our special committee to the Georgia Hospital Association to review the minimum standard employment standards that were passed at last convention, GSNA convention. The nurse appointees and the hospital appointees have met. We had our third meeting the latter part of July, and this was discussed at this time also. As a matter of fact, I believe the office for this is just over the Georgia Hospital Association office. And we learned that the people at Georgia Hospital Association have to see these, I believe the word was these rascals every time they get on the elevator and every time they go to meals. So I did work and keep in touch with the state people regarding our role as far as district goes. At the last GSNA board meeting, the attorney, Mr. Swan, met with the board members, GSNA board, and I believe I have his outstanding comments to the board members. Do not make any undue fuss at this time. If we give panel discussion, we give the union officials a platform for news and attention. He referred to them as a couple of fellows in the second mortgage loan business. Mr. Brandon, who is age 26, and Mr. Herndon, who is age 30, that had set about to organize this. And he did very definitely state that their intent was to be AFL-CIO. And Mr. Clemster, who is also an official, I didn't get his age,
He's 19, and he was with Penn Mutual.
Yes, formerly a loan company. And the attorney for the American Federation of Registered Nurses is a Mr. Joe Jacobs, who is was thought to be a labor, or known to be a labor union lawyer for years. And the prime target was at the hospital group. And Mr. Swan's recommendation that we maintain the group as a professional organization rather than as a labor organization. He did speak regarding the cards being submitted. Now, contrary to some earlier information that if a nurse had returned the card that accompanied her letter, there was some question as to whether or not it would be binding.
It will be binding.
And, he did state that it could certainly be binding, and he said if a letter were written, if the nurse and wished to withdraw her name, or we ask them to indicate she was not interested, that he would suggest that she circulate copies or have it entered by certified mail, would be his recommendation. And then out of the board came, I believe, an endorsement that we conduct an educational program at the individual member level so that each member can interpret and promote the minimum employment standards for her section to new members, non-members, and others who have questions about the economic security, as well as B, participate actively in the formation and realistic revisions of these minimum standards, and C, become familiar with industrial relations definitions and process. I believe this was the thing that they asked the districts to give considerations to. So it seems appropriate, as your chair, that I bring this to the board for any action that the board feels indicated at this time. I feel personally that there's been enough people looking and asking me as an individual that we might think in terms of a program on a local level or something of this nature, but this is before the board at this time.
I'd like to say that we have drawn up a letter, it is approved by the attorney, and the Executive Board of GSNA has approved this letter being sent to all nurses in the state, active and inactive. We are trying to get this letter delivered in the Atlanta and DeKalb County as quickly as possible, because these people work in a small group to start with. Those first letters started in this area, and they evidently are working with a small office group in addressing envelopes. We thought perhaps that this wouldn't be necessary, since our reporter called from the Atlanta Journal Friday and said that she called over and talked with Mr. Brannon, and that Mr. Brannon would not state how many members he had, and of course would not divulge the list of membership. And he did not want any publicity at that time. So I was right encouraged that maybe he didn't have enough people, and that maybe we wouldn't have to make them do a mailing. But the attorney says that you can't tell about these people, and that we can't afford to sleep while they work, and that he recommends this letter going out just as quickly as we can. Excuse me. This will mean about a little better than 17,000 letters. We have received from members over the state a good number of letters saying that they felt that this was a function of the Georgia State Nurses Association when they received it. And they did mail in the cards, but a few of them have sent us copies of the letters asking that their names be withdrawn from the American Federation of Registered Nurses. Those we will keep on file, and in the event that these people might move into our hospital and have these names amongst their cards, that we do have this in the office. In this letter we are mailing, we are asking the nurses, any of those who have requested their names to be removed from the labor files, notify GSNA so a file can be made up in the case we need it. And this morning we had a call that there was to be a meeting of this group Friday afternoon. I couldn't find the time or the place it was to be held. But when I went back to the office just before coming over here, Mr. Brannon had called and to let me know that there was not a meeting scheduled for Friday. And so maybe we won't have to worry about that right now.
How come he called you?
He said that he was getting a lot of calls over there.
Did you see this? It was in the paper.
Well,
I found that out of the Constitution.
When?
It was soon after this letter came out.
Yes, I have a copy of that.
it seems that the indication, and it looks like the thing that is indicated here, or it has been indicated certainly by a legal attorney or legal advisor, that this should be through membership. And while I would remind the board members, I believe we're 9 members today. That gave us 1139, and we ended last year with 1128 members, did we not? We're ahead in membership by 11 members at the end of last year. The membership committee has been very active, and I think maybe if we can meet with that group again, and maybe some way if our program chair could tie in it seems to me that the board was saying that we should certainly advertise and pay up our minimum standards that are already been working, are being reviewed in the economic security program. This information should be getting to not just the members of the organization, but to the nurse members of the community. And this would have to be some type of program that was not just geared to, that all nurses would be encouraged to come to.
I'd say too that the the Economic Security Committee met, and they have drawn up or used the American Nurses Association format for economic security program. And as soon as the attorney reviews this and see that we are staying within Georgia law, it will be published in the convention bulletin, but it will also be sent into the districts for study before going to the convention, and so as that we know what we're doing when we get down there with the economic security program. Now the Joint Committee of GSNA and the Hospital Association has been very active since January 1966 and working very, very well with it. And of course, economic security would not be their only interest. It just happened that these these minimum standards were turned loose just about the time that this committee became active, so they of course started looking at these minimum standards. They completed the general duty minimum standards, putting it into the language that hospital administrators understand, and it's a good format. They gave or added to this for the general duties approval more benefits than the general duty had in their original that was revised for 1965. And so of course the general duty section will have to go back through the channels to the convention and accept or reject whatever portion that's in these standards.
Madam Chairman, I think this group ought to know that this labor union has made the statement that the minute our registry closes that they will open one.
Oh, they have?
They certainly have, and that is fact. It's not hearsay, but I'm not at liberty to tell you how I got the information.
They've already
Well, we are not actually
selected the right.
closing the registry with with what we've done this afternoon.
Oh, I know, but I think that everybody
But they
should
know that we're in
this.
difficulty.
They know we're in difficulty, and they have already talked to somebody about being their registrar.
Well, somebody's furnishing this labor union some information, because before this letter left the office that was sent out from GSNA, before that letter ever went to the post office, this Mr. Brannon called and wanted to know if we were going to oppose him. And of course I told him that we of course had opposed him. We had told him opportunity that he called that we would oppose any labor union coming into the profession. And he quoted several things that you couldn't help but know that he knew what was in the letter that was going in the mail. So, by some hook or crook, that letter was, or the, don't know whether the letter, but the content of the letter was given to Mr. Brandon.
Well, Mr. Flemister told a nurse today that he had gotten 1,200 of these calls back.
Mr. Flemister called right after that letter went out, and he said that he was, next time we sent out a letter, please not to quote a figure. That they were so busy over there getting $5 checks that it was keeping them busy sending them back. And I said, well, I know the nurses would be very happy to get the $5 back. He says, that's not the point. It's just putting too much work on this office. I said, now let me tell you something, Mr. Flemister. I've been working with nurses for a long, long time, and nurses just don't function that way. If you got 3 checks this morning for $5, you've done well. And he says, well, in the future, if you in sending out your correspondence where you mention the AFRN, we would appreciate you calling over and letting us know. I said, all right, I'll bargain with you if you will let me have a copy of your mailing to the members of the state, or to the nurses in the state, and let us edit it for you. Well, we will be glad to let you know any time that we send out a figure. So he was ready to leave me then. But they called the office. It was called over there when I went back from the attorney's office to call Mr. Brandon. I don't return any calls. I don't talk to them. And that's another thing the attorney said, that as members of this board, that you cannot have anything to say or have any dealings with this crowd. If they have a meeting, don't attend it. Georgia State Nurses Association Executive Board is in the same position, and the executive secretaries are in the same position. He says you can send a general duty nurse or private duty nurse to the meetings, but as officers of the district or officers of the state, you should not have any contact with them.
They'd say it was official.
Attorney.
The attorney.
Oh,
That would be the official.
your attorney,
Yeah.
yes, and A attorney.
Yes, and they do.
For further information, I had a former employee who's employed in, just out from Miami. I have not gotten that letter to you, but she spoke of a union being organized, or an attempt to be organized, just out from Miami, about a week after I received this letter. And I believe she did, I'm almost positive, refer to it as a federation of nurses. So there must
They
be
said
some
it goes down
type-
there after they organized Georgia.
Well, this is what the letter said, but the newspaper article was incomplete. So I don't know that anything we might hear from these men, including the letter, as truths. I believe it is correct that both Grady and Emory have retirement programs. This letter says there are none right here in our own community.
Georgia Baptist has had a retirement program for years.
Yes, well, I was at Grady and I'm affiliated with Emory. I know about these two personally, so.
Kennestone
it's
has
these
had
kinds of
one, but
things.
they've recently reworked theirs, and
At the beginning, when you mentioned whether or not a program might be indicated, I'd like to speak in favor of that. If it fits in with the program chairman's plans, if we could get a program which would really depict not, well, maybe the history of what's transpired, but also to bring in some of the positive aspects of what the association is doing. both on a national scale and at state level, really to inform the nurses. And I certainly think national trends in nursing salaries and this kind of thing needs to be brought before the group.
Doesn't it need to be put in the mail since all people don't come to the meetings too?
Yes, if we could
report?
get it, a synopsis or something, not too long, but I really think that there are people in our midst who could speak to this very, very eloquently and very well. As to really what is going on, and what has and what is.
I would be in favor, and I think it'd be more dignified to do something positive.
Yes.
And that, instead of have a meeting to down the people that are trying to come in, where some people are taking that seriously, and some good people that are not organizational people. It could be an economic security, positive program.
Well, this has been the president's, there was one time I heard him on the TV, he did state that Georgia State Nurse Association has never done anything for the nurses. So if this could be a local program of what your organization has to offer and stay up to positive. I'm not sure that many of the general duty nurses know the Georgia Hospital Association has endorsed and did endorse before there were ever any letters the minimum standards. As a matter of fact, they gave benefits or adopted benefits recommended or guidelines that the staff and duty nurses did not even recommend for themselves.
It's too bad that these kind of things can't be circulated to all nurses. This is what's wrong with our organization. I've been saying it for 20 years, and it's still going on. Communication does not get, Miss Pope was talking about the things that had been done that the general duty nurses didn't even know about.
Ms.
And
Honeycutt, we've had these minimum standards since the ANA reorganized.
that's what I know, but nobody knows about it.
And they have been worked on, and they've, GSNA has paid the expense of the executive committees to come up and work on these minimum
That's
standards.
right, but if the membership
And then they
doesn't
go
know,
to
it's
the
no good.
convention and they vote on them. And after the convention, they came back and was put in the files of that GSNA. And the members were not interested in ever knowing what
They
happened
don't
to
know
these.
enough to be interested, Miss Dixon, that's what I'm saying. We have not done enough communication with our
Well,
membership.
people don't know you can't communicate.
If they won't read the bulletin.
If they won't read, and if they were, and if they don't, are not at the convention, or they're not at the, or if they are at the convention and they do pass these things, and you are trying to communicate with them, then it isn't the responsibility of the nursing organizations. It's the lack of interest of the nurses.
Yes, but these folks are going to be using psychology. Let's
That's
face
right.
it, these folks are going to be using all of these things that you say aren't the responsibility of us to do. But if we're going to come in on anywhere, even here, we're going to have to use it, whether it should or shouldn't
I
be.
agree with you.
The information is going to have to be put in such an interesting way that it attracts the interest and holds.
That's right.
So
Did these letters go to nurses other than members of the association?
Yeah, they went to everybody.
Well, don't you think that this is probably where we're getting a lot of these cards sent back from non-members?
They were going from members of state, I imagine they went
Miss
to.
Hasty, did you not get a card letter?
Oh, I got one, yes, but the thing, this is a little
No, that's
personal,
yours, that's
excuse me, a little personal incident I was thinking about. My son's been working as an aide at the Mental Health Institute at night this summer. He's pretty bright, I think, but he doesn't even know whether this nurse he works with is a practical or registered nurse, and I haven't been able to get him to find out. But anyway, he came home the other morning and told me that she was all for this labor union. Of course, I had mentioned my letter, and everything. And I said, well, is she a recent graduate or what? And he says, oh, she's old. She's been out 10 years. But I mean, I don't think she's a member of the nurses' organization from what he said she said. And I just wondered if this is where we're getting a lot of these answers.
We have the motion
No, we're getting it from them.
that the program committee of 5th District ESNA be requested to present a program to inform the membership of positive actions being taken by the association to promote improved economic security. Ms. Wells, did you, when Ms. Price spoke to that, you said you endorsed it?
I deliberately did not include the time. I think that the very nature of this motion means that as early as feasible, but I don't know what commitments we have.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah.
Excuse me, did you have anything on your notes from Mr. Swan about panels or discussions and the who should or who should not participate in these?
He said he said if we give panel discussion, we give them platform for news and attention. He recommends that we maintain the group as a professional organization rather than as a labor. He says that we have to play this up within the organization.
I just wanted to share the
Yes, I will share my notes with Mrs. Hammond if this is the way she should. I'll read the, Ms. Hammond, you have a discussion?
Yes. Are we projecting a structured meeting before September?
This is, may I speak to that?
Yes.
I can't see who she's addressing. What as the maker of the motion, what I see here is having an informative kind of thing presented, tracing where we were, where we are, and how we got there, what the association really has done. I think there are many positives that can be briefly spoken to, not in an argumentative way, just presented factually for information. And then certainly to open it up then for discussion.
But would we plant some ideas in the minds of this organization if we stage something now?
This, I don't know. This question about the panel gets me. I think this is an informative kind of thing, and really we aren't necessarily saying anything about any labor union. Every member who comes will know why. We don't really have to make any reference to that. But these are the things that really are at play at present.
But I think the dilemma that we see in our whole social order is that our corruption so oftentimes is from within. We're appreciative of the fact that this cause is before us, but most of the information is being fed by fine, well-meaning people that may have sit in a room that had this purpose in mind. So if we should stage something August or now, before our September meeting, I feel the source from which this is going will just pick it up and carry it. To me, I would speak in favor of the business meeting having a very fine, meaningful, dynamic flash on this, because actually we had proposed this anyway. The developments of the organization, or 1966 convention, and try to give it a
Did you
proper
read the
character.
article that was in the Marietta paper yesterday, was a week ago? It was much larger than this piece of paper. And it was by this Mr. Howren, Howren, who lives at in Marietta and has just gone with this labor union. And whoever, there had to be a nurse who knows organization, because that man could not have written that piece. Somebody had to know an organization real well for him to have written it. I have a piece over in the office, be glad if anybody see it. But, I was with a nurse here a few weeks ago who holds a very responsible nursing position, and she told me that she would go on a strike and she would also demonstrate. And I was amazed.
I think it'll fight us. We're living in it.
I was amazed that this person really felt that way.
We have had several calls from people who said they'd like to join the association to fight this. I think we're missing a wonderful opportunity. We have the materials. AMA has stacked it up 4 feet high in our office. We need it now as far as our drive to get our membership. Right now we have 181 general duty nurses. We have 226 administrators, so we know we must have at least 5 general duty nurses to every administrator. And I feel that in our professional pledge or whatever we want to do it, that if we go ahead and have, at this time, an intensive membership drive, maybe in all the hospitals, or somebody to be responsible in checking the hospitals. Now, Ms. Dixon had the one from DeKalb General, and only 10 of those members, about a page and a third,
There's 122 on that list.
Are members. And potentially, I feel with the response we've had, getting 9 today, which is unusual in August. Usually after July, your membership is just 1 or 2 hit and miss from then on out the rest of the year. And then we got, I think, about 5 or either 7 on Friday that I have not reported. And I just wondered if we couldn't go ahead and pledge our loyalty and all of us supporting the membership drive, not only to help our budget, but to create interest in the professional organization.
Carol, on this letter we're sending now to all the members, all the registered nurses in the state, there will be a space at the bottom if you're interested in membership to contact the Georgia State Nurses Association. Then we can weed these out according to addresses back into the districts, rather than to confuse them with 14 districts in the state.